Story 1. The Stranger at the Reunion. The invitation to my 10-year high school reunion arrived in my inbox like an unwelcome ghost from the past, stirring memories I'd long buried. It was set for a balmy August evening at an upscale catering hall in the heart of our quaint suburban town, organized by a clique of former classmates who'd always seemed to revel in the spotlight. Initially, I had no intention of attending. High school hadn't exactly been my golden era. Too many cliques, too much drama, and far too many people I'd rather forget. But my friends, Kayla, Marissa, and Sophia, were relentless, their enthusiasm infectious. "It'll be fun," Kayla insisted over coffee one afternoon, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "We'll go together, get a little tipsy, and laugh at how everyone's aged." Against my better judgment, I caved, though a knot of unease lingered in my stomach. The night of the reunion, we gathered at Kayla's house for a pregame, the air thick with nostalgia and the clink of wine glasses. By the time our Uber pulled up to the venue at a fashionably late 9 p.m., we were buzzing with anticipation and a touch of liquid courage. The catering hall was a vision of elegance, chandeliers casting golden light across the room, a DJ spinning remixes of early 2000s hits, and party lights pulsing to the beat. It was louder, livelier than I'd expected, a far cry from the subdued mingling I'd dreaded. Faces from a decade ago surrounded us, familiar yet altered by time. Some softened by age, others hardened by life's unpredictability. There were at least 100 people, far more than I'd anticipated, and the sheer volume of the crowd made my head spin. With my friends by my side, the initial awkwardness melted away. We navigated the room, exchanging pleasantries with old acquaintances, laughing at shared memories of teenage antics. But as the night wore on, the crowd began to thin, and my friends drifted off to catch up with others. I found myself alone at our table, picking at a plate of hors d'oeuvres, the weight of solitude creeping in. That's when I noticed him, a man at a nearby table, his gaze fixed on me. He was handsome in a rugged sort of way, with sharp features and an air of confidence that made my pulse quicken. Our eyes met, and I quickly looked away, heat rising to my cheeks. But when I stole another glance, he was still watching, a faint smile playing on his lips. Before I could process it, he was crossing the room, sliding into the seat beside me with an easy grace. "Hi," he said, his voice smooth and warm. "I'm Connor. I saw you from across the room and had to come say hello." Flustered but intrigued, I managed to smile. He was charming, his conversation effortless, and I found myself relaxing despite my earlier reservations. He claimed to have transferred to our school senior year, which explained why I didn't recognize him. "Everyone says that," he laughed when I admitted as much, his eyes crinkling with amusement. He mentioned being friends with a few guys from our class, tossing out first names, Mike, Josh, that I vaguely recalled. When I guessed their last names, he nodded, chuckling as if my skepticism was endearing. We talked for nearly an hour, the noise of the party fading into the background. He was attentive, asking about my life, my job, my dreams, and I found myself opening up more than I'd intended. When he asked for my number, I hesitated only a moment before giving it to him. He flashed a grin, promised to text, and rejoined his friends, leaving me with a strange mix of excitement and unease. Alone again, I rejoined my friends, who were now thoroughly drunk, their laughter louder, their stories sloppier. The party's energy was intoxicating, but I couldn't shake a growing sense of disconnection. By midnight, I was ready to leave, the small talk and forced smiles wearing thin. Then my phone buzzed. It was Connor, offering me a ride home since he was leaving. Exhausted and eager to escape, I agreed without hesitation. I slipped out of the hall without saying goodbye to my friends, an Irish exit, as Kayla would later call it, and met Connor in the lobby. He led me to his car, a sleek black two-door coupe that gleamed under the streetlights. As we drove, he handed me a water bottle, urging me to drink to avoid a hangover. "Trust me, you'll thank me tomorrow," he said with a wink. I took a few sips, grateful for his thoughtfulness, and entered my address into his phone's GPS. But then my phone erupted with notifications. Kayla was calling, and Marissa and Sophia were bombarding our group chat with texts. "Where are you? Who are you with?" I ignored the call, texting back that I'd gotten a ride home. Their responses were frantic, urging me to check the reunion's Facebook group. My stomach dropped as I opened the app and saw a post from a classmate warning about a stranger at the event. A man who wasn't from our school, approaching women under different names. Kayla's next text was in all caps. "You're with that guy named Connor? Someone saw you leave with him." Panic surged through me. I glanced at Connor, his profile illuminated by the dashboard lights, his expression unreadable. My mind raced, piecing together the inconsistencies. His vague backstory, the way he dodged specific questions, the water bottle that now felt like a prop in a sinister play. I had to get out. At the next red light, I seized my chance. "I have to go," I stammered, flinging open the door and sprinting into the night. I darted into a TGA Fridays parking lot, my heart pounding as I hid behind a dumpster, watching his car speed away. He didn't follow, but the relief was fleeting. I called Kayla, my voice trembling as I explained everything. She and the others Ubered to the parking lot, arriving 15 minutes later to find me shaken but unharmed. As we piled into the car, I felt increasingly foggy, my thoughts sluggish, my limbs heavy. The realization hit me like a freight train. The water bottle. He'd likely spiked it, and I'd only escaped because I hadn't drunk much. We spent the night at Kayla's, too rattled to be alone. The next morning I returned to my apartment, my nerves frayed. Then came a knock at the door. My heart stopped, but it was only my neighbor, his face grim. "Did you know some guy was here last night, looking through your windows?" he asked. He'd confronted the man, who'd asked if this was where Miranda lived. My neighbor, bless him, had lied, saying it was the wrong apartment. The knowledge that Connor, or whatever his name was, had my address haunted me. When my lease ended, I moved to a new unit in the same complex, desperate for a fresh start. My friend's quick thinking had saved me, but the experience left scars. I swore off reunions, vowing never to let nostalgia blind me again. Story 2. The Ghost of High School. Past my 5-year high school reunion was a milestone I'd looked forward to with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Our graduating class was small, barely 200 students, which meant everyone knew everyone, at least on the surface. The event was set for a cozy banquet hall in town, a far cry from the glitzy venue of my later 10-year reunion. I was eager to reconnect with old friends, to see how life had shaped them since our teenage years. But there was one shadow looming over the night. Tyler. Tyler was a chapter of my past I'd rather forget. Senior year, we'd had a brief, reckless fling. Nothing serious, just a few stolen moments fueled by youthful impulsiveness. But when I tried to end it, his true colors emerged. He turned obsessive, sending threatening texts that chilled me to the bone. "I know where you live. I know when your parents are gone." One night he showed up at my parents' house, hurling rocks at my window until my dad stormed outside, shouting him away. After that, his harassment faded, but the memory lingered like a bruise. My best friend Julia knew every detail, having been my confidant through it all. When we decided to attend the reunion together, I prayed Tyler wouldn't be there. The banquet hall was warm and inviting, fairy lights strung across the ceiling, a buffet laden with nostalgic comfort food. About 50 people showed up, a solid turnout for our tight-knit class. Julia and I made the rounds, hugging old friends, laughing over shared memories. The atmosphere was light, the conversations easy, until I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned and my heart plummeted. Tyler stood there, his face a mix of sheepishness and determination. "Hey," he said, his voice low. "Can we talk?" I froze, my mind racing. It had been years since we'd spoken, and his sudden presence felt like a violation. "I hope you're doing well," I managed, my tone clipped. "But there's nothing to discuss." I turned to walk away, but his hand shot out, gripping my shoulder and spinning me back to face him. "You're already gonna be like that?" he snapped, his eyes flashing with anger. I shoved his hand off, my voice trembling but firm. "Let go of me." He glanced around, clearly aware of the eyes on us, and muttered, all right, before slinking away. The encounter shattered the night's joy. I spent the rest of the evening hyper-vigilant, avoiding Tyler's gaze, sticking close to Julia. I noticed him lingering with one of his old friends, a quiet kid from his oddball high school crew. Later, I confided in Julia and a few other women about what had happened. Their reactions were unanimous. Tyler had always been a creep, known for his aggressive behavior toward women. To my relief, he seemed to vanish after that, likely leaving early to avoid further scrutiny. Julia and I stayed a while longer, then joined a group of women at a nearby dive bar, the night ending on a lighter note. But the unease followed me home. As Julia dropped me off, I noticed a Jeep Cherokee cruising past her car, its headlights slicing through the dark. My street was usually silent at that hour, and the sight sent a shiver down my spine. Was it Tyler? The next day, consumed by paranoia, I checked his Instagram using a fake account. His profile was private, but he accepted my follow request, revealing no photos of a Jeep or any car. Still, the coincidence gnawed at me. Then came the DM, a long, manipulative message, dripping with entitlement, urging me to meet him. His obsession hadn't faded, it had merely lain dormant. I blocked him immediately, my heart racing. That night, I woke to my doorbell ringing incessantly at 1 a.m., followed by furious pounding on my door. Terror gripped me. I was alone, my parents now living in Florida. No one to chase away the intruder. The noise stopped abruptly, and when I peeked through the window, no one was there. I barely slept, haunted by the certainty that it was Tyler. The next day, I turned to a friend's father, who connected me with a detective in our hometown. Armed with screenshots of Tyler's old texts and the recent DM, the detective paid him a visit, issuing a stern warning against further contact. So far, it's held, but the experience left me shaken, a stark reminder that some people never change. I dread the thought of seeing Tyler at the 10-year reunion, and I'm not sure I'll have the courage to go. Story 3. The reunion that wasn't. I'd only been seeing Phoebe for a few weeks when she invited me to her high school reunion. We'd met on a dating app, her profile catching my eye with its wit and charm. She was 4 years older, with a quiet confidence that intrigued me. Our first date, drinks at a cozy bar, was effortless, her laughter warm and genuine. The second, a night out with my friends, was less smooth. She seemed reserved, and my friends later admitted they found her nice but off. Still, I liked her enough to agree when she asked me to accompany her to the reunion. "I don't want to go alone," she said, her eyes pleading. After she'd braved my friend's scrutiny, it felt like the least I could do. The reunion was on a crisp fall Saturday, hosted not at a typical venue but at the home of a wealthy classmate, according to Phoebe. "He's some rich guy from my class," she explained, her tone casual. "It's at his mansion. Super fancy." I hadn't had my own high school reunion yet, but I imagined these events at banquet halls or bars, not private homes. Still, I shrugged it off, eager to support her. We arrived at the address, a sprawling estate with a gated driveway and manicured lawns. The house was undeniably impressive, but something felt off. No cars lined the street, no signs of a bustling party. I assumed the host had parked in the garage, but the quiet unnerved me. Inside, the atmosphere was even stranger. The moment we stepped through the door, every eye turned to us, or rather to me. The room was filled with about 30 people, all staring with an intensity that made my skin crawl. A few approached Phoebe, exchanging hugs and small talk, but their attention quickly shifted to me, their questions probing and personal. "What do you do? Where do you live? Who's in your family?" It felt less like curiosity and more like an interrogation. Phoebe led me through the crowd, introducing me to more people whose questions grew increasingly invasive. I noticed something else. These people didn't look like they were in their late 20s, as Phoebe had claimed. Many appeared well into their 30s, their faces lined with age, their attire oddly formal for a reunion. I whispered to Phoebe, "Some of these people look older than you said." She laughed it off. "Yeah, some aren't aging well." But her nonchalance didn't ease my discomfort. The house itself was eerily silent. No music, no laughter, just hushed conversations and those relentless stares. I asked Phoebe about the host, curious to meet the owner of this opulent home, but she said she hadn't seen him yet. The longer we stayed, the more claustrophobic I felt. Excusing myself to the bathroom, I wandered the house, hoping to shake the unease. The hallways were grand but barren. the air heavy with an unspoken tension. I passed more guests, each one eyeing me like I was an intruder. By the time I reached the bathroom, I was desperate for a moment of reprieve. Locking the door behind me, I sank onto the edge of the tub, texting my friends about the bizarre scene. "This reunion is weird," I wrote. "Everyone's staring, and it doesn't feel right." I messaged Phoebe, suggesting we leave soon, citing the strange vibe. As I washed my hands preparing to rejoin her, someone knocked. I opened the door to find a young man, one of the few who looked closer to my age. His expression was grave. "You should leave," he said in a low voice. "That girl isn't who she says she is." I stared, my mouth dry. "Phoebe?" I asked. He shook his head. "Whatever she told you her name is. What did she say this party was?" I told him it was her high school reunion. He smirked, his eyes dark. "Do these people look like they're at a high school reunion? Trust me, leave sooner than later." Before I could press him, he slipped into the bathroom and shut the door. His words ignited a spark of fear. Everything, the stares, the age discrepancy, the absent host, clicked into place. This wasn't a reunion. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I had to get out. Moving quickly but calmly, I made my way to the front door, avoiding eye contact with the guests who still watched me. I reached my car, my hands shaking as I started the engine, and drove away. Phoebe texted me, asking where I'd gone, but I didn't respond. At home, I dug into her identity, running her number through white pages. The name that came up wasn't Phoebe. It was Claire Foster, tied to an address different from the one where I'd picked her up. I realized I'd never seen her emerge from her house. She'd always been waiting on the sidewalk. I texted her a curt apology, "Had to leave, sorry," and blocked her number. My friends, when I told them, were unsurprised, admitting they'd found her odd from the start. One joked that it sounded like a scene from Get Out, but the humor couldn't erase my unease. I never learned what that reunion was, but the man's warning and Phoebe's false identity convinced me I'd narrowly escaped something dangerous. I've sworn off dating apps since, wary of who or what might be waiting on the other side of a match.